Hello everyone, today we are cutting through the complexity of ESG to focus on a critical question for Malaysia's green future. What role does tax policy play in promoting environmental sustainability? The answer is clear. The government used tax not as a stick to punish polluters, but primarily as a carrot to incentivize and reward green investment. Malaysia's strategy is heavily weighted towards incentive. The two main levers are the Green Investment Tax Allowance or GITA and the Green Income Tax Exemption or known as GIT. The GITA is a powerful incentive for companies to acquire a specific green asset, things like solar panels, efficient machinery, or approved waste management technology. It offers a tax allowance on the capital expenditure, which directly reduces the initial cost of going green. The GIT, on the other hand, targets service provider. If your business offers a qualifying green technology service like solar leasing or green data center services, you can enjoy an income tax exemption on a portion of your statutory income. Crucially, these policies are more than just discount. They are tools of economic steering. They actively direct private sector capital to achieve national goals, particularly Malaysia's target of carbon neutrality by 2050. Specifically, the incentive aim to drive investment in three critical areas. First is renewable energy to transition our power grid. Second, energy efficiency, encouraging industry to cut consumption and waste. And third, they support the transition to a circular economy by incentivizing better waste treatment and recycling efforts. Looking ahead, Malaysia is also preparing to introduce a carbon tax framework. This signifies a potential shift from a purely incentive-based system to one that begins to incorporate the polluter pays principle. But for now, the primary role of tax policy is clear. Taxation in Malaysia is an accelerator for the E in ESG. It makes sustainability a financially sound business decision. It drives key investment, and it directly supports our journey to a greener, low-carbon economy.
Hello, my name is Firas Firdaus bin Izhar Abadi and I will presenting for question number 2. So, how can companies balance their fiduciary duties to stakeholders while still maintaining their ESG commitments? And we can start it by reframing fiduciary duty as a long-term stewardship. Instead of viewing taxes as a drag on profits, forward-thinking boards treat them as part of their social contract. Paying fair taxes sustains the very systems which is infrastructure, education, legal stability that enables business success. Based on research by Sitkoff Harvard Law School, fiduciary duty extends today beyond profit maximization to include long-term sustainability and stakeholder trust. Ethical tax behavior therefore supports, not contradicts, fiduciary responsibility. Number 2 is responsible tax practices actually preserve firm value. A study by Elderly and Muhammad in 2024 found that aggressive tax avoidance negatively affects firm value. But companies with strong ESG disclosures experience less damage. This shows that transparent tax behavior aligns with shareholder interests and protects long-term corporate reputation. Number 3 is ethical tax behavior builds investor confidence. According to research published by FIS.org in 2025, investors view tax responsibility positively, especially in countries with higher inequality, proving that fair tax contribution can enhance financial reputation and market value. This means being responsible in taxation is not just ethical but also beneficial to investor as a relations. Governance and substance matter more than disclosure alone. A report from the Wharton ESG initiative revealed that while many firms disclose tax information, weak governance leads to greenwashing. In other words, a company might appear responsible by releasing ESG or tax transparency statements, but in reality, their internal governance system may not genuinely enforce ethical tax conduct, which is strong. Now, this ensures transparency truly reflects ethical practice. Number 5 is tax transparency as a strategic ESG integration. Based on PwC Global Tax Transparency Report 2024, integrating tax into ESG reduces information asymmetry, enhances investor confidence, and fulfills fiduciary duty through responsible governance and risk management. This integration turns tax management into a tool for building trust, sustainability, and a long-term corporate integrity. Thank you very much, and it is all for me today.
Hello everyone, today I'll be answering how unfair tax practices can harm social development and equality. First of all, let's look at the definition. What really unfair tax practices is? It is unethical actions such as tax avoidance, tax evasion, profit shifting, or even exploiting loopholes to reduce tax obligation. It is really common among multinational corporations and wealthy individuals. It does contradict the principles of fairness, transparency, and good governance. The first impact is reduction in government revenue. Tax avoidance and evasion by corporations and wealthy individuals can reduce government income. It limits the funds for healthcare, education, and welfare. This shifts the tax burden to SMEs and citizens. An example that I can quote here is the Panama Papers in 2016 exposed Malaysians hiding wealth offshore while claiming funds for rural and poverty programs. The second impact is widening income inequality. Unfair tax practices benefit the rich, allowing higher profit and dividends, while ordinary taxpayers bear the load. This widens the income gap and reduces the social equality. An example is global firms like Apple and Amazon shift profits to low-tax nations, depriving others of revenue for equitable growth. The third impact is undermining public trust and corporate reputation. Avoiding fair tax contribution damages public trust in both companies and also governments, it leading to lower compliance and investors' skepticism. An example I can give you here is during the COVID-19, several multinationals faced public backlash for tax avoidance, harming their ESG reputation. The fourth impact is hindering Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Lost tax revenue limits progress toward Sustainable Development Goals such as poverty reduction, decent work, and quality education. Example, in Africa, corporate tax avoidance drained billions funds that could improve water, sanitation, and also education. The fifth and last impact is promoting unfair business competition. Tax avoiding firms gain unfair advantage over complaint SMEs, distorting fair competition and encouraging monopolies. For the conclusion here, unfair tax practices can harm inequality, weaken trust, and hinder national progress. Adopting Malaysian Tax Corporate Governance Framework (TSGF), it promotes transparency and ethical governance, ensuring taxation supports a fair and sustainable society. A study that we can refer called Support for Economic Inequality and Tax Invasion in 2022 shows that the studies find that individuals who support economic inequality are more likely to intend tax evasion, meditate via Machiavelli, and personality traits. That's all from me. Thank you.
Today I will discuss the challenges of integrating tax strategies within an ESG framework. Integrating tax into ESG is increasingly important, but it presents several key challenges for organizations. I will highlight three major ones. First is balancing efficiency with ethical responsibility. Companies regularly aim to minimize tax liabilities to increase shareholder value. However, as noted by PwC and Erinelli Courts in 2035, aggressive tax planning can conflict with the governance pillar of ESG, which emphasizes transparency and ethical behavior. For example, our global firms like Apple and Amazon have faced criticism for using complex but legal tax structures. This shows how profit-driven tax strategies can create reputational risk and raise questions about a company's commitments to responsible governance. Is the lack of global standardization and data integration. According to ACCA and Rana Tunggal in 2035, inconsistent adoption of GRI 206 tax 2016 made it difficult for multinational firms to align local tax reporting with global ESG goals in Malaysia. Although the Inland Revenue Board introduced the tax corporate governance framework, many companies still struggle to implement it due to the absence of clear ESG tax metrics and weak data system to verify disclosure. Lastly, there are organizational and resource limitations. Research by SCCA shows that many small and medium-sized enterprises lack the awareness, expertise, and financial resources to integrate ESG principles into their tax governance. Successful integration requires leadership commitments, cross-department collaboration, and investment in digital system for better transparency. In conclusion, integration tax strategies within an ESG framework is crucial but complex. Companies must balance ethical tax behavior, data reliability, and organizational capacity to build sustainable and trustworthy corporate governance.